like to welcome you all today to the seventh and final seminar in the Critical Perspectives on Youth, Community and Urban Regeneration, which is supported by the Department of Sociology, the Irish Social Science Platform and the Faculty of Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences here. Our speaker today is Kathleen Turner, who's a PhD candidate in the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance, the Education Officer of the Irish Chamber Orchestra, and the Director of the Sing Out with Strings project, which is a community music education project here in Limerick. I think I'll give you the floor there.
Perfect, thank you very much. And thanks for having me. So I'm going to talk to you about Sing Out with Strings, which is the flagship project for the Irish Chamber Orchestra, and as you heard there, I'm the Education Officer for the ICO, who are one of Ireland's professional orchestras and resident here on campus at UL. Sing Out with Strings is a project that works to bring singing, songwriting and violin tuition to children who are living and attending primary school in Limerick's regeneration areas. And the key focus of the project is social change through music. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chat to you about the origins of the project, why it got started, how it got started, how it operates now, and where we see the project going in the future. And then there's going to be time for questions at the end as well, and discussion at the end. But if there's anything along the way as well that you want to ask me, please feel free to put up your hand and interrupt me. So before I get into the project itself, I just want to talk very, very quickly about what community music is as a practice, because I know everyone's coming from very different disciplines. So I just wanted to clarify, I'm not a music teacher. I'm a community musician, which is quite distinct both in its approach and in its training for facilitators. And it's about, really, these are the key points, it's about creating access to music making and music appreciation for all. So it's not about making any distinction between ability or background or income. It really is about music for all. It's about fostering a belief in our own musicality and creative ability. So for anyone who thinks that they absolutely can't sing, that they don't have a note in their head, that they really don't understand what it means to keep a beat, it's simply not what we believe in community music, is that everyone has the ability, the innate ability, to be musical, to take part in a musical process, in a creative process. It's about composing, improvising, creating new work in a collaborative and a supportive environment. So it's very much about a community of voices, about adopting different ideas and working together to create something new. And it's not curriculum based necessarily, but it is community driven. So it's about working together in community. And for me, very much community music is about the social aspect. And for me growing up, I was involved in community music from a very young age in different choirs and different music groups, and it was always about that social aspect. And I grew up very much and bring that practice into my work now, bring that experience into my work now about the potential that I believe music has for active social change. So that's a wee bit of what we're going to be talking about today. So back in September 2008, I was approached by the Irish Chamber Orchestra, a fresh graduate from the community music programme and the ritual chant and song programme, because I'm primarily a singer, to pilot a project in Limerick's regeneration areas. It's called Galvone National School in Kennedy Park. And this was following a number of conversations that Limerick Regeneration had with Galvone National School, with parents from there, and also with Strategic Innovation and Education from the Department of Lifelong Learning here at UL. And it was really about wanting to look at how we could assist the process of Limerick's social regeneration through music. And I was directed at that time to look at this project for inspiration. It's called El Sistema, and it's a Venezuelan orchestral and choral project. And it was started by this guy here on the left. His name is Dr. Jose Antonio Abreu, and he's a musician and a composer, but also really crucially he's an economist. And he proposed this idea that children could, through the experience of the orchestra and through the choir, through the experience of creating music, playing music, through that structure, they could gain valuable life skills, not just musical skills, which would enable them to perhaps open doors to become professional musicians, and many of them have, but more importantly, to become successful people, to become people who could define their own futures. And that project started in 1975 with 11 children and young people. It now reaches over 300,000 children across Venezuela. He's effectively transformed Venezuela into an orchestral movement. The project is funded at government level, and it's inspired projects across North America, Australia, Europe, and it's really become international since that time. These guys here on the right hand side are some of the brightest and best emerging from that project. They're called the Simon Bolivar Youth Orchestra, and they were identified as one of the 5 most important orchestras in the world. And they're very much not only successful musicians, but they are absolute advocates of the social aspect of music, of the social power of music to affect change in a really tangible way in their communities. So that's Venezuela, and obviously it's a very different context. So I had to come back to where we were and bring it back to an Irish context and to Limerick. And I'm sure we're all familiar with some of the issues that have emerged in the process of Limerick's regeneration and coming out of the Fitzgerald report. So things like poverty, crime, unemployment, no school completion, and this idea of a culture of poverty that affects what is quite significantly a young population who are living in Limerick's regeneration areas. And so we had to think about that. And quite clearly, as an orchestra, you can't assist in issues of housing or infrastructure or redistribution of resources, any of that kind of thing. But we were starting from a point of what we could do, which was about having a creative approach to social regeneration. And the idea that through music you can introduce children on a daily basis to a whole range of new experiences that effectively can, in time, change their window onto the world. And so through that experience, through that range of experiences, enable them to reimagine their personal, their collective identities, so that they can imagine themselves beyond youth at risk and into youth in action. That was the idea. Youth who can revive their communities in the true sense of regeneration as rejuvenation, revival really. And in turn, those young people can redefine their own futures on their own terms. So that was the ethos that was really feeding into Sing Out With Strings at the very beginning. So I'm going to talk specifically now about the project itself. So as I mentioned earlier, we provide singing, songwriting and violin tuition for children aged between 4 and 12. And we started at the very beginning. It was a pilot project with 60 children in Galvon National School, and these three aims were identified at the very beginning, and those continue to feed through into what operates as Sing Out With Strings 4 years later. They were to bring music into the culture of the school, so it's not something that you just do once a week and then it's over. It becomes embedded in the culture of the school, in the collective identity of the school, both staff and pupils. It's very much about enabling the personal, social and academic development of the child through an experience of music and music making. And then finally to enable children to meet, to learn from and to engage with professional musicians in a meaningful way, so that it wouldn't be the Irish Chamber Orchestra arriving, we do a nice concert and then we leave. It would be about fostering a relationship so that children really felt a sense of ownership with the orchestra, a sense of relationship, a sense that this music belonged as much to them as it did to the Irish Chamber Orchestra. So how it actually works. We have a strategy on how we deliver everything. So it begins with singing primarily, and that's to bring music into the culture of the school at the most accessible level. Everyone can sing, everyone can take part, and you're going to see what I mean in a little while. Don't panic, but we are going to do some community music making. And so every child in every school who takes part in our project, there's 3 schools, Galvon National School, Southfield Junior School and St Mary's Boys School, every child aged between 4 and 12, regardless, takes part in a weekly singing session, a songwriting session. They have up to 3 violin tuition sessions per week. And it's very much about an ethos of practice and performance. So it's not just about, you know, struggling away with your own individual lesson. We have group lessons, we have after-school orchestra, and we have consistently throughout the year, we have opportunities for performance, so that we're not just working hard all the time or creating new work all the time. We're also celebrating achievements. We're also showing the creative potential of children and how much their work actually has value and meaning in the community through lots of different performances. And then we have Meet the Musician sessions, and those happen for the last 6 weeks of every school year, where we have concerts in the schools and we bring professional musicians, artists, dancers into the school, and we have our own school concerts, and the children have the chance to see people who have taken their music and their experience of music and creativity to a professional level, and they have the chance to see the instruments up close, they have the chance to ask questions and to engage again in a meaningful way, as I talked about in our aims. So that's very much how it works in a general way. So now to get to the specifics, I'm going to give you some examples so you can get an idea of how this actually works in practice, as opposed to a big kind of abstract idea. I'm going to give you an example of some of our work from this term in Galvon National School, and this is an example of a junior and senior infants and first class section. Our theme for composition this year is Oceans, Adventures and New Worlds. And with this particular group, we sat in a circle of about 30 children, and we sat in absolute quiet with these huge seashells. And we sat in a circle, and if you want some tips on how to get children to be quiet, present a really beautiful huge seashell, because it worked a treat. And we sat in a circle, and everyone had the chance to listen, to just listen, and as they listened, to imagine what they could see, what they could hear, what kind of images it brought to mind for them, and we would use the basis of those ideas to create our very own song. So this is a kind of condensed version of what actually happened in that session over about half an hour, obviously condensed to a much shorter conversation here. The purple is me, the blue is the children. So I asked them, what does the sea make you think of? And these are some of the responses written down in my big jotter of our mind map. They said, sun, sea, sand, land, sea, blue, ooh, calm, boat, float, drift, lift. You can see that they really enjoyed rhyming words, and once one person came up with a rhyming word, so it went on and on. They thought very much in terms of sequence. They came up with lots of different creatures, the octopus, the shark, but also sounds, the bites, white, roar, crab, grab. So sounds and rhyming sounds were certainly something that they enjoyed and came out of that conversation. And so after we'd exhausted that, there were many ideas. I asked them, great, so what's our big idea? What's going to be the basis of our song? What's going to be the big central topic? And I nearly dropped as the senior infant put up his hand and he said, we should say tranquility. That's a nice word. It's not a word that you expect a senior infant to come out with, but they continually shock me on a week-to-week basis of the stuff they say. It's amazing. But he said, tranquility. So I asked him, what does that mean? And he said, quiet. And all the teachers went, quiet. So, and I said, yeah, exactly, nice and quiet and calm. And should we have anything else? And typical, it's fun to be quiet, but it's also really fun to be noisy. So they said, a storm! So it was my job with my colleague then to take those ideas. They sent us off with an idea of what they wanted in their song. And myself and my colleague Sabrina, who's also a student at the Irish World Academy, had to come up with a structure that took their ideas, took exactly what they wanted. They wanted tranquility on the sea, they wanted rhyming sounds, but then after all of that, they wanted a storm. So we had to come up with a structure that was based on their ideas, but also that they could continue to put their ideas back into the music so that we could continue to be creative on a weekly basis. So the speakers, I'm sorry, are a little bit quiet, but I'm going to let you hear how that turned out. So I'm going to set it down here, and shall we sing the song again? Yeah. Let's sing the song again. Tranquility of the sea, happily I float. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, sailing on my boat. Can you hear the raindrops falling from the sky? The waves go splash, splash, splash. The lightning flash, flash, flash. And the wind goes howling. Woo! The thunder claps, claps, claps. The rain goes down, down, down. And the storm goes twirling round. Okay. So that's how listen to yourselves. Juniors and seniors in first class sing this song, and now we are going to do it ourselves. I'm a great believer in learning through doing. Don't panic, really. I can see the panic gathering on your face, but this is how the song goes, and I'm going to take you through it because I want you to experience, actually, it's a very simple thing. It doesn't seem very important, but just as an exercise, you're going to try it very quickly because it's super easy. Now, you can see here, oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily I float. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, sailing on my boat. These are the things that are interchangeable every time we sing the song. But we're going to learn to sing the song first of all. You still look really terrified. Please don't be. So, it's very easy. I'll sing a little bit for you, and then we'll try it together. So it goes like this. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily I float. Try that. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily I float. Brilliant. The next bit goes. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, sailing on my boat. Try that. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, sailing on my boat. You're completely mortified. It's hilarious. If you do this with 5-year-olds, they're like, sailing on my boat. They don't care what the person next to them thinks. But anyway, so, should we try that whole 4 lines in the beginning? Let's try it from the start. Go 1, 2, 3. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily I float. Brilliant! Oh, the tranquility of the sea, sailing on my boat. The next bit is the question. It goes like this. But can you hear the raindrops falling from the sky? Let's try that. But can you hear the raindrops falling from the sky? Then you've got to find something to make the sound of raindrops on. Go for it! Go for it! Find something. There you go. And here comes the storm. It goes like this. It's very easy. The waves go splash, splash, splash. The lightning flash, flash, flash. And the wind goes howling. Woo! Let's try that. You ready? 3, 4. The waves go splash, splash, splash. The lightning flash, flash, flash. And the wind goes howling. Woo! Don't be afraid of that wind. Let go. The next bit goes. The thunder claps, claps, claps. The rain goes down, down, down. And the storm goes twirling round. Let's try that. The thunder claps, claps, claps. The rain goes down, down, down. And the storm goes twirling round. That's the whole thing. Let's try it from the beginning. You ready? Oh, we're very quiet. We were doing this last week in Yale. So if Yale can do it, UL can totally do it better. Let's try it from the beginning. Here we go. tranquility of the sea, happily I float. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, sailing on my boat. Whisper, but can you hear the raindrops falling from the sky? The waves go splash, 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 the lightning flash, 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 and the wind goes howling. Woo! The thunder claps, 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 the rain goes down, 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 and the storm goes swirling round. Oh, you're great. Okay, now we're just going to do it one more time. This is the community music moment. Right here. This is when we change these things. So we need something else to do in the sea. One word, one syllable. Happily I what? What does it make you think of? Happily I something. Anybody? Happily I swim. Perfect. Tell me your name. Amanda. Sorry. So Amanda, happily I swim. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, something, something, has to rhyme. Happily I swim.
Happily I think of him.
Oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily think of him.
Happily I think of him.
Happily I think of him. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily I think of him. It's all about timing, I love that. Happily I swim. Happily, I think of him. And suddenly, it becomes a romantic song. You see? Okay, tell me your name. Eva. So this is now Amanda and Eva's version of tranquility. Let's try it. Happily, I swim. Happily, I think of him. Let's try it. You did not think you'd be doing this today. It's good for you. It's good for your mental health. Let's try it. From the beginning. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily I swim. Oh, the tranquility of the sea, happily I think of him. Oh, but can you hear the raindrops falling from the sky? The waves go splash, 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 the lightning flash, 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 and the wind goes howling. Woo! The thunder claps, 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 the rain goes down, 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 and the storm goes swirling round. Brilliant! Give yourself a clap. Excellent. So, that might have seemed, if you're not used to it, something that's quite childish, but actually I would say it's childlike. And there's an awful lot that I learn on a weekly basis by being childlike, because when you enter into that space with them, they tell you the most incredible ideas. They bring such a fantastic approach to what they do creatively. And it's not just singing a nice song that's happening there. You're doing any multitude of things that then reinforce other positive things in the classroom and in the school culture. So we had turn taking while I sang and then you sang. We listened and then we responded to that. We had recognition of pitch. We had an opportunity for a wee creative moment. We were developing our language skills and thinking about rhyming sounds. We were thinking about rhythm. Lots of musical skills, but also lots of social skills were happening in that very brief 5-minute period with a song that only has about 10 lines. So if you're doing that on a daily basis and a weekly basis, making it part of the culture of your school, it's a very small thing, but it actually has a lot of meat to the bones on what's going on there. So I'm going to give you an example. Fast forward, those are 5 and 6 and 7 year olds. These are 11 and 12 year olds, and this is a song, one of my favourites that has come out of Sing Out With Strings, called What Kind of People. And it emerged, it was composed by a class, 5th class pupils in Galvin National School in the 2nd year of the project. And it was written, they decided from the very beginning of this composition process that they wanted to ask a very specific question. And the question was, what kind of people do we want to be? And it wasn't restricting to Limerick Regeneration. It wasn't restricted to Limerick. It was about asking the question, what kind of people do we, as young people, want to be? What kind of people should we be? And it was just after, I think, the earthquake had happened. They were talking about earthquake, they were talking about pollution, they were talking about what would their response be to different things. And they came up with some really fantastic lyrics. The song is about 3 minutes long, so I'm not going to play the whole song. I'm just going to play a 30-second extract of the bridge of the song where they ask, what kind of people do we want to be? And these are the things that they came up with. Wiser, stronger, kinder, smarter, happier, safer, cooler, better. I love that. They had plenty to say about not only how they should be behaving as young people, but how we should be behaving as a society and responding to different problems. So this is how it actually sounds. What kind of people we want to be? Wiser, stronger. What kind of people do we want to be? Kinder, smarter. What kind of people do we want to be? Happier, safer. What kind of people do we want to be? Cooler, So that recording was made at the end of that year with a quartet from the Irish Chamber Orchestra. But it's very much about the fact that when the ICO come to see the kids, they're not only playing, they do perform pieces from their orchestral repertoire, and we do look at that, absolutely. But also a large amount of what the orchestra are playing is music that the children have written. And that's really important, that they're coming with their own creative ideas and having a sense of ownership about the music that they hear and that they perform. So that gives you an idea of how the project actually works. And this is where we are at the minute. I mentioned earlier that we started with 60 children in Galbone from 3 classes. And now we're really lucky. We're in our 4th year of the project, and this year we have 290 children. And the schools estimate that we've achieved about 2,000 community contacts through parents, through community leaders, through churches, through people coming and actively taking part in the project, whether that be through attending concerts, supporting after school orchestra, that kind of thing. We have 36 new compositions, like the ones that you heard, that are written by children and with children. We have 2 school orchestras in St Mary's Boys' School and Galvon National School, and they stay after school 1 day a week to work on their own music. And they also have the option of before school lessons as well. So we have kids, turning up in the snow at 8 o'clock in the morning in January to get those extra lessons. And that's a lovely thing to see. And parents coming along to go with them as well. We very much believe in a community of learning, so it's not just the kids that learn. There's the option for the teachers, the secretaries, the board, school board members, the caretakers. In each of the schools we have school staff who attend extra violin lessons themselves, so that as the kids learn, they can learn with them and support their learning. And so when we have our St Patrick's Day parade float, it's not just kids on it, it's teachers, it's S&As, it's secretaries, it's caretakers, all very much feeding into this community of learning. We have a steering committee that was set up this year to really take the project forward, and that has equal membership of parents, orchestra members, violin teachers, and myself as a manager, and also a school principal. So it's very much about having representation from all the stakeholders there, and then we're looking at doing focus groups with the children themselves. And we have positive press. I've been reading the same work as you guys this year on your modules, and it's been really eye-opening for me to take a wee step back from the project and look at other perspectives and think about particularly the role that the media plays. And you guys had written this great article about the way that Limerick, and specifically in this article, Moy Ross, is presented in the media, and the pressure is actually on journalists to present Limerick in a very specific way, with a very specific angle. And one of the things that we really wanted to do was to bring positive press to Southhill, to St Mary's, so that you're talking about the positive potential of children as opposed to they're from this area and therefore that means this, this and this. It was very much about creating positive press, bringing a positive light to the children and to their areas. And so these are some of the outcomes. Oh no, sorry, actually before I talk about the outcomes, a little bit more interesting, or much more interesting actually than hearing me talk, is actually hearing the kids talk. This is one of the girls who was actually involved in that piece, in writing that piece, what kind of people do we want to be, and also her friend just chatting to me in the playground about the word creativity and why they think it's important.
It gives me confidence, like I said, that I get to express my feelings, but I won't be able to do that just in a conversation. But when I'm singing, then I can just scream to the world again. And I love the way that we can be creative and just think about words put in the song. And some people in our class then come out like, you wouldn't know what to be able to say, but you wouldn't think by their personalities what kind of words they would come out with. But they come out with great sentences, and they come out with great melodies, and people then like they wouldn't think to be able to sing that. They're brilliant singers, and I love the way that they just love singing. And before then, when you were singing, they're like, "Oh, shut up" and stuff like that. But now they're just like, "Oh, cool." And then when you put a tune, like they can just think of a beat, and they can think of words go to beat. I just love the way we can get creative, really. Music is good because it's a better way of sending a message out by saying it soft and kindly.
So that right there is a great example of what I mentioned earlier about the things that children will say to you that are incredibly insightful. I could talk about this project for however long and not be able to put it in such a great way. Music is a way of sending a message on in a way that is soft and kind. Like, that is just the best way of putting it, and she's 10. So some of the outcomes that are coming out of the project so far, and interestingly this was the first one to emerge after the 3-month pilot, was self-esteem. The teachers said that there was a huge rise in self-esteem, confidence, both personal and collective, an improvement in communication skills, an improvement in memory, an improvement in teamwork in the classroom and in music sessions, an improvement in discipline overall, and an improvement in respect for self and others. Those are some of the things that are coming out, and some of the things that we were obviously hoping for from the very beginning. We had an external evaluation last June by Mary Immaculate College, and this is one of the things that they said. Both at individual and collective levels, the project is uniting communities, building local pride, creating vehicles for expression, stimulating emotional responses, and developing tangible musical knowledge and skills. So we were really delighted to hear that, because obviously those are all of the things that we started out looking for. Emotional responses, vehicles for expression, and crucially, uniting communities and building local pride. All of those things were things that we wanted to foster from the very beginning. But that is not to say that our evaluation was like, everything is perfect, everything is shiny. We're 4 years into this project. It's still relatively new, and we're all still learning. And these are some of the things that came out of that. Establishing long-term and sustainable funding, because obviously while the children don't pay for anything, the project itself is not, it's not self-funding. We have to continue finding the funding from somewhere, and we've been really lucky in that. Our seed funding was found from UL, from the Department of Lifelong Learning and the Strategic Innovation Fund. Then Regeneration came on board, and we've had support from JP McManus, from LEDP, from the Ireland funds, from different local sponsors and national sponsors. So we've been incredibly lucky in that. But we have to keep going, and I'm constantly looking for more ways to fundraise. We have to build stronger partnerships both in the community and in the classroom, so that we're working effectively with teachers in partnership, so that they don't feel that we're not the musical experts, so we can't have a say in this. It's about working together and empowering the teachers and empowering the children as well, so that we're working together in a collaborative effort, because that's what community music is about. the logistics of the project as it gets bigger. 300 children, and if any of you are free on May the 16th, you'll see what that looks like if you'd like to come along. We're going to have a concert in Mary Immaculate Theatre in the Lime Tree at 1 o'clock, and 290 children will be taken to the stage as young as junior infants with tiny violins. So there are a lot of logistical things to take into account with this project. Secondary level support, which is personally my biggest concern, because we have children who are moving on to secondary school, and at the minute we don't have the funding or the staffing or the resources to continue teaching them after they leave. The School of Music have given us some scholarships, thankfully, and we have some interest or some potential rather, for some of our teachers to maybe work until 5 o'clock next year, so that some of the kids who want to keep coming back to orchestra will have the option after their school day ends in secondary. But really, to have any kind of substantial continuance on to secondary level, we have to have more staff, we have to have more resources to do that. And then research and evaluation, we have to take a step back from our own work to invest in evaluation and to invest in our research, which is why I've started my PhD this year, asking that specific question. What role can music play really in the social regeneration process? And I'm getting stuck into that. And educating ourselves. When I started this process, as I mentioned, I was new to the career of community music. I've been doing it as a participant for many, many years, but I'm learning myself all the time, and particularly learning about the Limerick context and about regeneration. And there are some things that I hadn't even considered before I'd taken the time out this year to study and read some of the things that we've been reading, read some of the things and thought about some of the things that impact directly on how the regeneration process works. And that's going to be something that continues on. I'm sure that in 6 months' time I'm going to look back at some of the things I've written and have to rethink my whole approach, because educating myself and educating ourselves as an organisation is something that's going to be ongoing as this process unfolds. So I'm going to finish there. Really, the future of Sing Out of Strings I'm really hopeful for. Obviously there are a lot of things, a lot of those challenges that I mentioned, but there are also all of those moments that I just wanted you to have a wee window into the incredible potential that children have creatively. And that's not limited to songwriting. It's the whole point of the project is that creative ability can be fostered and developed to feed out into the community. And I'm seeing already the small changes that has, the ripples that it has out into the community, into families, into parents. And I'm excited to fast forward 5, 10, 15 years to see where this will go, because El Sistema started with 11 children. There's absolutely no reason why, if we do this in a way that is reflective, in a way that is responsible and engaged in the process of regeneration, there's no reason why we can't take this project and do something equally as powerful and impactful. So, does anyone have any questions? Or I just talked